Agro on TV.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, our audience on the virtual platform, and those of us at home. You're welcome to this press briefing on the Feed Nigeria Summit. My name is Richard Mark Mbaram. I am the Director General of the Feed Nigeria Summit Secretariat. I'm engaging with media colleagues and more or less bringing them up to speed on the preparations for the summit so far. Basically, the Feed Nigeria Summit is an event that is going to be taking place on the 6th and 7th of April 2017. It is one that would take place at the Intercontinental Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos, and it's geared towards ensuring that the Nigerian agricultural sector connects with the realities that are happening on the African continent in terms of Feed Africa. We believe that Nigeria is a critical player in the mix for Africa to be able to attain its objective of feeding itself by 2025, as set by the Africa Development Bank and being, would I say, currently, administered across the continent. At present, we don't think that Nigeria is fully represented in that drive, and we think that it would be necessary for the country to step up to the game or to the play and be counted amongst the Committee of African Nations. It is the reason why the theme of this event is Feed Nigeria to Feed Africa. By force of that theme alone, you would understand that Nigeria is critical, to the task of feeding Africa. That is the most this is the most populous country on the continent, and we have no reason whatsoever, to not be active in the continental agricultural development activities and programs. So with the summit, we are simply looking at where Nigeria stands in agriculture. You would know Agro-Nigeria's pedigree in terms of sector-specific communications as it relates to the agricultural sector. So we will be utilizing our convening power to bring together the creme de la creme of the agricultural sector in Nigeria, and of course working with partners like the AFDB, the Africa Development Bank, IFAD, Synagos, GAIN. We will be looking to really galvanize the Nigerian agricultural players to look at innovative homegrown solutions to the problems of the sector. Before you begin to ask questions, we would want to just make this salient point that as an organization, Agro-Nigeria is very, very committed to the program of the federal government called the Homegrown School Feeding Program. That program for us, and from our standpoint, has the potential of delivering to the agricultural sector the kind of growth and productivity that is required to kickstart the Nigerian economy and to pull it out of recession. That I would like to add the caveat, however, that as structured presently, the program may well not be able to carry out this objective because the private sector is not bullish and, will I say, totally committed to the program. So we want to see how we can, utilizing this framework of the Feed Nigeria Summit, to engage the private sector, all right, in such a way as to demonstrate to them what the opportunities are in the implementation of the Homegrown School Feeding Program. As it stands currently, many believe that the program is a waste of time. The Nigerian Labour Congress said as much recently, but we don't agree. We feel that if it is properly structured and properly implemented, okay, in such a way as to ensure that there is probity, accountability, and due diligence, we will find that the homegrown component of it, which presupposes that you would be sourcing, the food that is being served the children in schools from the local, agricultural production space. That component in itself would provide a ready, guaranteed market to agricultural players. It is a key solution to the problem that farmers in Nigeria have had over the years of not having, predetermined or assured offtake of their produce. Providing them a market then means that these farmers would be able, to concentrate on production. Once you do that in the present climate, you would find that you're more or less going to inspire or generate, confidence from within the sector, from a productivity standpoint, and then be able to kickstart, further economic activities as you begin to look at the processors, as you begin to look at those who are the vendors, the food vendors, and the cooks and the off-takers, and then subsequently, you're talking about the schools and then the children. So for us, it's a good time to really hone in on this project, bring the private sector to the play, and ensure that the program can be properly implemented in such a way as to make business sense. It's important to state this. It must make business sense. Otherwise, as we know, the program is supposed to gulp about 300 billion Nigerian naira over a space of 10 months. As we know it, if you do not ensure that you use this program to galvanize productivity, you would find that that would be a monumental waste of the nation's resources. As a company, as an institute, as an organization, Agro Nigeria is bent, resolved to ensure that that does not happen, not on our watch. And so we're having this August Assembly. We're looking to have a special session on the homegrown school feeding program, chaired by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the person of His Excellency Professor Yomi Osibajo, who incidentally is superintending over the implementation, directly superintending over the implementation of this program. We know him to be cerebral. We know him to be, one who knows his onions about issues of this nature. And so in engaging with him and providing this platform, we are looking to have him interact with the private sector in conjunction with the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, in the person of Chief Audu Ogbe, whose ministry is directly responsible for making this program functional and effective. They will be engaging the private sector. They will be telling the private sector what they have in mind for this program, or to achieve through this program, and also hearing from the private sector what it is that should be in place, how best this should be structured to make business sense for them to come in. The reason why we're particular about the private sector is because we do not want this program to end at the culmination of 10 months. We insist on a sustained implementation of this, even beyond the tenure of the monies put down by the federal government. So how can we innovatively ensure that this happens? It's what the Feed Nigeria Summit is going to be looking at, and it's certainly going to be exciting, an exciting time, deliberating and interfacing with key stakeholders. At the present time, we have a very profound buy-in from the private sector players. The agricultural private sector has responded in a fantastic way. There is so much excitement. We have players from the premium aquaculture, from Popular Farms, from Olam, from Triton Group, Cellulant. The names are there. Union Bank is looking to come into the play, okay? And we are really excited that these brands that have done serious things in the agricultural space are actually interested in this activity. And of course, we know too well that Agro Nigeria is the sector's mouthpiece, and we will deploy all our channels to ensure that this is an event like no other. Beyond that, this event also will feature the Nigeria Agricultural Awards 2016 and 2017. 2016 and 2017 because we did not have the Nigeria Agricultural Awards for 2016. It is a strategic decision in the sense that it was felt by the award committee that a year would need to come to an end before you begin to assess, the performance of stakeholders in the sector. So it was built for February and it was built for Abuja, but we've been forced to relocate it to Lagos on account of the closure of the international airport. So rather than have it at the Transcorp Hilton, the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton, we will be having it in an equally fantastic and magnificent venue, which is the Grand Ballroom of the Intercontinental Hotel. I mean, it's a fantastic place. So seating 200 participants and delegates, we do not envisage anything other than a fantastic and memorable time. We look to deliver the best event, homegrown, that agriculture in this country has seen. Thank you very much for your time. I'm ready now to take questions.
Maybe we'll look at, so let's look at it in terms of the future of foreign direct investments.
Okay.
What will be coming in terms of foreign direct investment? We've had a lot of different agri-forums.
That's right.
In the last 3 years. Some has been more of exhibition.
That's correct.
And product display, which I think is not really what the economy needs right now. What do we expect? What is going to be different in terms of the format of Feed Nigeria and what we've had over the last 3 years?
Yeah, this is unique. Unique in the sense that this is homegrown. We have had fora, like you rightly pointed out, and very few of them, if any, has been hinged on, and the conveners now have had the depth of experience about the agricultural sector in Nigeria like Agro Nigeria does. We have been here for the last 11 years and counting, doing nothing else but focusedly reporting and, will I say, serving the agricultural sector of the Nigerian economy. Our main concern about this event is to deploy it as a homegrown solution provider. So most of the events you're talking about have been outside looking in or orchestrated. We are on the inside, right here, in the thick of it, understanding the setting and deploying, this platform to solve those problems. It's the reason why we are focusing on the homegrown school feeding program as a cardinal springboard. So you can see the strategy already is different. We are not out to just glean the sector and run away. No, ours is going to be an engagement year on year. From the point when this event ends, there is a continuous flow of activities that have been lined up. Even prior to the event, for the first time, we're having a sub-national build-up to the main activity. So we'll be having town hall meetings in 6 geoeconomic zones. And just so that you see how innovative this is getting, we have decided not to deploy geopolitical. We are calling these geoeconomic zones for the purpose of this event and for the purpose of the agricultural sector. All right, so we will have those 6. I can sitting here, I can tell you where they would be taking place. Ogun for the southwest, Enugu for the southeast, Asaba for the south-south, Ilorin for the north-central, Kaduna for the northwest, and Gombe for the northeast. We're going to do that from the 27th of this month, February. Neck to neck till the 21st of March. Now, we will be engaging stakeholders at the bottom rung. So this will not be a conversation over their heads. They will be provided an opportunity to feed into the mains of the summit deliberations. And we would understand the needs from a standpoint of what the actual players. Agriculture is not carried out at the national level. So we will be giving the stakeholders who are actually in the thick of production activities realistic opportunities to be connected to the conversation, at the main summit.
I'm looking at the impact and...
Yeah, you asked about foreign direct investment. So I'm trying to tie this together. Because you see, many a times we think that the investors sit out there and hear you when you come to London to talk about what's happening in Nigeria, and then they just pick their briefcases and jump into Nigeria. It's not true. Those guys have a way of connecting with the realities back here. They're coming with their monies. They've got to be able to understand that this setting is amenable for them to be able to invest. So if you don't get the local players connected to the mainstream and ensure that they are properly galvanized and empowered, if you have farmers who cannot generate an income, if you have an economy that is in recession and cannot even get itself together, then you're just telling stories about foreign investment. No one's going to come here. So we are looking at a situation where agriculture serves as, will I call it the get out of jail free card, drawing from the game of Monopoly, the get out of jail free card for the Nigerian economy. That's what we are out to do. That's what we must do.
Looking at the level of participation, both local and international, what volume of goods or services will we be dealing with here in this situation? We'll talk about in money.
Now this is, Eshe, thank you for your question, but this is a summit. And basically we are looking to connect Nigeria, with an amount of money on the continent that AFDB is looking to leverage. But the AFDB in itself is increasing its funding portfolio to agriculture phenomenally to the point where this is going to be standing at a figure of $2.5 billion US. That money primarily should be coming largely to Nigeria. This is the largest, single population on the continent. This is a country where if you were to really get the agricultural productivity right, then you would have fed at least 2 in 10 Africans. So you see where the economics are. Beyond that, we are also looking at a situation where we can play effectively in terms of access of companies within Nigeria, private companies within Nigeria having the ability to access the kind of financing and loans that the Africa Development Bank has and other multilateral, financing bodies have for agriculture. We are looking to also ensure that development partner assisted funding, which in most cases, clearly in most cases, is like a boomerang fund. It comes from this end, it's let out, and then it returns because it is not accessed. Okay, so we are looking to engage the development partner assisted programs in country that relate to agriculture and ensure that they are properly mainstreamed into the development framework of the sector, the larger development framework of the sector. It is the only way we're not going to be signing checks at the Feed Nigeria Summit. But we're going to be working innovatively with other stakeholders and collaborators to be able to unleash, the growth capacity of the agricultural sector and by implication, the larger economy of the Nigerian nation. I want to believe that the partners that we are involved with, okay, and the weight of resources at their disposal, if we were truly to prepare the ground, okay, we won't have a situation where you pour the water and the water quietly drains out, through the channels, and you don't get to make maximum utilization of same. For the first time in the history of the Nigeria Agriculture Awards, we are bringing together, or we are looking at having awards for the youth, segment of our demography. So we have structured it in such a way that we have essay competitions for those in secondary schools, and also we have proposal writing. It's actually business proposal writing for those in the tertiary and also in the Nigerian Youth Service Corps, CADIA. Now, since your question relates to the proposal writing component of it, I will want to shed light. Like I said, it's business. It's a business proposal. So we are saying identify a problem area in Nigerian agriculture, proffer solution thereto, and let us know what timelines of implementation there is for this project. All right? And then beyond that, what the scope of impact you envisage would be. Our reason for doing this is to begin to trigger a mindset on the part of the average Nigerian youth that agriculture, even though it poses challenges, should ordinarily be a medium for proffering solution and getting Nigeria out of her present economic, situation. We are exciting them because we know the average Nigerian youth is extremely well endowed. And we're looking to see how they can connect with the agricultural sector and proffer solutions. It's about solution provision. They mustn't be farmers. They mustn't be engaged directly in agriculture. But we want to start a mindset that looks at agriculture as a solution provider and then seeks to solve problems inherent in agriculture. We want to bring the entire populace round to the point of understanding that therein lies Nigeria's solution and that sector cannot be ignored and left to itself. It's our strategy. So we're not looking really for people to get into agriculture in that sense. We're looking to have people think more positively about the agricultural sector. It's in the same vein that we're going to be looking at, the youths in secondary schools. And we're saying to them, if you were to be Minister for Agriculture, what would you do? Let them put their thoughts together, no matter how wild and outrageous. But let them begin to dream. Let them begin to think. Let them begin to aspire. And let them begin to look more favorably at the sector in question. Because I am a lawyer. That's my professional background. But I've been stuck with the agricultural sector of the Nigerian economy. I can tell you that I can discuss agriculture better than many who are even, career agricultural, career trained in agriculture. I've done nothing else in the last 11 years. Absolutely nothing else. And so I want to see how that same passion, that same understanding can be transferred, to the younger generation of the Nigerian populace. We're targeting the younger generation because, for those of you who are old, chances are that you have already crossed the point where we can reset your, of course, we're not giving up on you, but we're really saying that it is easier for us to handle the younger ones, than you guys. This event is standalone and it's distinct from what is happening on the continent, but it draws inspiration from the high five strategy of the new AFDB president. He's no longer new, he's more than a year old, but he has a 10-year game plan for Africa's development. He wants to power Africa. He wants to enhance rural, dwellers across Africa by providing them rural infrastructure. He also wants to feed Africa. The idea, the concept is fantastic because it is hinged on an Africa transformation agenda, Africa agriculture transformation agenda that says that Africa need not be a high importer of food. All right. Rather, Africa should be able to feed itself primarily. Okay. Changing that paradigm requires a lot of effort, a lot of financing is involved, a lot of moves are required. There is need for the private sector to connect with that. And there is a profound need for the public sector also to link up to that. And when we say public sector and private sector, we're talking about the continental private sector. So we're talking about the private sector in Malawi, we're talking about the private sector in Rwanda, we're talking about the private sector in Morocco, we're talking about the private sector in Cote d'Ivoire, as the case may be. But we are saying, as Agro Nigeria, that Nigeria is intrinsically important in this matrix. For you to succeed in feeding Africa, you must first and foremost succeed in feeding Nigeria. And we are drawing from that and saying that even within Nigeria, we the stakeholders have got to rally together and connect with this move. It's a fantastic plan, and it has a fantastic guy behind it. The best of brains that Africa can be looking towards to leverage in the sphere of agriculture is what we have, at the present time running the Africa Development Bank. And he is a man, like he keeps saying, he's a man in a hurry. And we've got to connect with him in a hurry so that the train doesn't leave the station and leave us, stranded. And we're glad that in country, there is a movement, there is a commitment. We are implementing a program that is ordinarily supposed to be, a social benefit inspired program, the homegrown school feeding program, all right? But has profound capacity to trigger an agricultural revolution in terms of high quantum productivity, processing, and possibly manufacturing. When that happens, we see a situation where the larger economy can be recalibrated and pulled out of recession faster than anyone could even have expected. And we're being strategic about this. There is resources at the disposal of Nigeria situate in Abidjan. We will be foolish not to deploy our processes and our structures in such a way as to leverage those resources. We would also not help ourselves on a local perspective in country by not rallying together and beginning to kickstart this return to normalcy of our economy. And we're saying agriculture is the one sector that holds the ace in that regard. And we're not going to sit back and fold our hands. We know, as Agro Nigeria, having done this for this long, we know that this is the time to get the agricultural stakeholders together and for us to begin to, look at getting ourselves to El Dorado. Now you're asking who's to attend. So by that point I'm making is, yes, we're going to be done with Feed Nigeria, but we're not particularly looking to do Feed Africa. We can collaborate with other stakeholders on the continent. The African continent is a mammoth place. So we want to fix Nigeria first. When we're done fixing Nigeria, then we can collaborate, if need be, to rally others together to move on. Thank you, excuse me. So who's to attend? The creme de la creme in the sector, from government to private sector to development partners, and the response we're getting is mind-blowing. Because the sector understands who we are. They know what we've done. They know they've watched us for 11 years. We've asked for nothing. We've given all. So we're here, we're not telling stories. It's very, very, will I say, trendy now to talk about agriculture. Everybody wants to have an agric blah blah. But these are all people who are just looking to make a living. We've been here and we won't go nowhere. So beyond that, you're asking about legislation. Fantastic question. Because I'll give you an instance. But for the Buhari administration's understanding, an in-depth understanding at that, of the value of sustaining, agricultural policy, and making a bold move, irrespective of political correctness, to sustain specific aspects of the agricultural transformation agenda of the previous administration, as having been orchestrated by Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. We would have had a situation where the agricultural transformation agenda would have been left at the behest of the new government, simply on account of the fact that it was not locked in by legislation. We wasted the opportunities to have the ATA legislated into law in such a way as to have made it impossible or near impossible, for the subsequent government to throw it overboard. But we're fortunate. But do we want to leave things to chance, even now that we have the APP that is building on the ATA? I say no. It would be unacceptable. It would be irresponsible. That is why we're engaging the Senate President's office. We're engaging the Speaker of the House of Representatives office. We're engaging speakers of the various 36 state houses of assembly. All right? And we are insisting that it would be a bottom-up approach, whereby we have the legislators at the lower rung of, of the country's structure, okay, feeding into the mains and participating actively, okay, in the sessions that we are going to be having, so as to ensure that when they get a sense of the importance of this sector, they would reprogram themselves in terms of legislating on issues that come to them stemming from the agricultural sector. Again, you look at the commercial laws of this nation, they're moribund. You can't conduct business on this kind of, rules and regulations that we have here. And I want to remind you, and I'm sure the Vice President knows, being a senior advocate of Nigeria, law is a primary instrument of social, engineering. There is absolutely no way you would put law aside here. So we have mainstreamed the legislative component. We will have, the legislators in the room. And that discussion, that conversation will also involve them, in the mains. They would be engaged and they will engage. So in all, we are providing a platform. We're insisting that things have got to change. And we are deploying our convening power as the mouthpiece of the Nigerian, agricultural sector. Coupling it with, it's one thing to have a rod in your hand, but it's also a good thing to have a carrot. So while we are having the serious business of the summit itself, we have also combined it with awards, which would be recognition of people, institutions, organizations who have stood out in their, pursuit of excellence in Nigerian agricultural space. Now, we are looking to reward the president, and we call it a special policy award. It's the first time this is happening in the Nigerian agricultural space. You've had Operation Feed the Nation, right? You've had the Green Revolution, right? Each time the new government comes in, it throws the thing it met into the dustbin. Hook, line, sinker, starts afresh. That's partly why Nigeria is where it is, or where it had been in the near past. But for the first time, a new government has come in and said, no, we will not throw this away. It worked. Stakeholders affirmed that it worked. So we will retain it. Now, for that, we are recognizing and awarding, especially a policy award to, Mr. President and his team in agriculture. Beyond that, of course, we're going to be having, the larger categories, the regular categories that we've had, the Agric Governor of the Year, the Agric Journalist of the Year. Incidentally, we have the immediate past Agric Journalist in the room. We would be having the Agric Destination of the Year. We'll be looking to have the Agric Brand of the Year, Development Partner of the Year award, Agricultural Bank of the Year. It's the list is can go on and on. Yes, but what I can assure you is that we'll have an exciting time. We want to have an event like no other. I appreciate your time.
Agro on TV.